Hello, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me here this morning on Narcissism 101, cracking the code with me, Paul Wisdom. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday morning so far. Before we get into what we're going to talk about today, if you would like a one-on-one session, please email me at paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or you can send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out if you are dealing with a narcissist or not, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to give you guys the help that you need. I just want to remind you that if you would like to call, please send a text to the number and just let me know that it's you, and let me know that you would like to talk about your narcissistic experience, and let me know that you've been watching some of my videos, and I'll be more than happy to get you the help that you need. All right, so let's get into what we're going to talk about today, guys. So the title of this video today is going to be spiritual restoration, how to set yourself free. Yeah, somebody in my comments made a request that I do a video on spiritual restoration and on how to set yourself free. So I'm gonna do a video on that right here, right now. All right, so let's get into it. I want you guys to be honest with me for a second. All of you that are watching this video, wherever you are, doesn't matter, what it is that you're dealing with. Be honest with me right here, right now. How are you truly feeling? Be honest with me. How are you feeling? Are you feeling sad, perhaps? Are you feeling discouraged? Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling worried? Are you angry? Are you depressed? Are you, are you, on the flip side, are you enthusiastic? Are you happy? Are you excited? Are you feeling good? What are you feeling? Be honest with me right now. How are you truly feeling? Now, I want to talk about this in two. I want to talk about this in two different, ways. Okay. If you're feeling any of the negative ones, which I just mentioned, you know that there's something going on with you spiritually. Now, the narcissist, they don't want you to ever be able to heal. They don't want you to be able to move on with your life, live your best life, do things that suit you, do things that you enjoy. That's not what narcissists want. Narcissists want you to be stuck in time. They want you to be stuck in the past. They want you to be stuck thinking about them, thinking about what they are doing, thinking about the good times that you guys may have had. I say it in quotations like that because those times weren't actually good times. They were made to look and seem like they were good times. Because the narcissist, you have to remember that narcissists are liars. They are minions of Satan. They're working for Satan. They make everything look good in the beginning, but then in the end, everything isn't as it seems, and they turn out to be the polar opposite of who they portray themselves to be. And so when it comes down to it, the narcissist wants you feeling these ways. They want you feeling, anxious. They want you feeling scared. They want you sad. They want you depressed. They want you angry at yourself. They want you blaming yourself. They want you feeling all these things because that's what's going to keep you stuck. These things are going to make you not be able to move forward, right? And narcissists are happy and that's why when the relationships with narcissists end, that's why they hoover, because they want to check and they want to see if you are those negative traits I mentioned. They want to see if you are anxious. They want to see if you're depressed. They want to see if you are angry. They want to see if you're reeling, if you're thinking about them. They want to see if you will give them another chance, and this time they will eventually destroy you, because with each time that the narcissist encounters a new person, they get worse and worse and worse, because each day we're on the planet, we are all getting older, right? And as you get older, for most of us, we get a little bit more impatient. Now, I'm not saying it's a lot, but I'm saying we tolerate a lot less as we get older, because we realize that we don't have enough time to have to deal with nonsense, right? And narcissists, now you're different from the narcissist. You're different from the narcissist in the sense that the older you get, you want to better yourself, right? You hope to live a long and a fruitful life, right? But see, the narcissist, that's not how they think about it. They think about the fact that as they get older, they're constantly trying to see how they can abuse more people. They look to approach people from different angles that they didn't even think about, right? They attach more demons to themselves, right, as they get older, which means that they get nastier, and you don't want anything to do with these people. That's why we say once you've figured out that they are a narcissist, you should want nothing to do with them. You shouldn't want them anywhere near you, because they can eventually kill you. And I made a video on this previously, which is one of my most recent videos, that the longer you stay, the more of a chance that you have for dying. The closer you are to dying is what I said. And that is because the narcissists, they're very dark, right? You're positive, you're beautiful light. Narcissists are dark, right? They're minions, like I said before, of Satan, right? And Satan, he wants to destroy. Narcissists, they want to destroy, right? So you want nothing to do with these people. Now, I want to talk about if you're feeling these ways, right? The question everybody's asking is, how do you get better? Well, the truth is that everybody is different. Some people heal faster. Some people, it takes a while. For some people, it's quicker, right? Me personally, it didn't take much for me to heal from, because I realized that in my life, throughout my life, even in my family, I realized that my family was narcissistic. Right. And I realized that from a young age, from when I was not even a young age, when I was a baby, I was targeted. Right. I was made to feel as if I was the best child of my three brothers. Right. And I told you guys this story. The fact that, when I was a baby, what had happened was that, my mom, she showed me all around the hospital. She was showing me off and, saying that I was the best looking baby, and then when it came to the rest of my brothers, she never did that. Right. And so what that said was that I was being triangulated against my siblings from when I was a little baby. I couldn't even talk. I couldn't even walk. I couldn't do anything. But as I got older, I started realizing that something was off. Something was different about me. Right. And that is because I was being groomed. I was being trained to be the one that was going to be targeted. Right. And so going throughout my life, I realized that I was targeted all throughout my life. And when I was dealing with people, right, and these were people that were just like my family, I always knew how to deal with them because I was being abused like that. I was being taken for granted at home, right? I was being shown, I was being told that that certain people would be in my life, would be there for me. But then when things got hard, that's when these people revealed their true selves to me, and I realized that and I experienced that same thing within my marriage, right? When I needed my wife, you know what I mean? She wasn't there for me, right? She was in fact laughing at me anytime I expressed a concern, anytime I was feeling bad, anytime I was feeling discouraged, anytime I was looking for support. Right, when her family mistreated me, when they were mocking me and laughing at me, I remember at one point when I was married, I had a job. I was working at this place, and I was a working chef at this place here in London. And I remember when I was being treated with disrespect. Right, I was trying to go on my break to take my break, and the boss, well, the assistant boss whom I was working under, I was going to take my break, and he got upset at me for taking my break. Right after I'd done work almost 6 hours, I should be able to take maybe a 30-minute break. And this guy started losing his mind. He's like, "You can't take a break like that." And I was like, "But boss, I just did this amount of work." And then, he was trying to, invalidate me and make me feel uncomfortable. And so, I just decided that it was time for me to just walk away, because I wasn't about to explain to him, that I was feeling this way. It was just best that I just walked away. So I ended up resigning. And then I told my wife that. And then I remember in the morning time, this was in the morning, I was eating my breakfast. I was just sitting down, just relaxing, just eating my breakfast, getting ready for the day. And then my ex-wife, she was on the phone with her parents, with her mom. And then I could hear them over the phone because the phone was very loud. It was blaring, and obviously the house was quiet and all that stuff. And so I'm just sitting there eating my breakfast, and then I could hear in the background, her mom was like, "So how's this new job going?" And then my ex-wife was like, Well, he decided to resign. And then her mom starts screaming, and then she's like, "Why? Did he get fired?" And then she's like, "No, mom, he just resigned." And she's like, "So what's he gonna do now? He doesn't have a job." And then so berating me and making me feel less than. And then my ex-wife was like, "Yeah, I know, mom, and I know," and not even standing up for me. So see what I'm saying? This is what I'm trying to say, right? That narcissists, they're not there for you when you need them the most, right? And so I guess the only way, especially if you're a person that, like I said, it all depends on who you are as a person, right? Some people, it doesn't take much for them to heal. Others, it takes a while, right? So I mentioned in one of my videos before, you will know when you've healed if the thought of the narcissist that you were doing with in the past, it no longer triggers you the same way, right? But if it still does trigger you, then you know that you have some healing to do. And how you do this healing is you start taking time for yourself, right? You start doing things that only you enjoy. Don't think about what anybody else tells you. Think about what you personally enjoy doing, right? When you start thinking about those things and focusing on only those things, then those things will help you to heal, whether it's reading a book, whether it's going for a bike ride, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's doing those things that you enjoy. I can't speak for you because I don't know what it is that you like to do, but you have to start focusing on the things that you enjoy doing. And then when you start focusing on those things and really start tuning into your sense of self, then that's when the healing will begin. Right? That's how you begin healing. Now, I want to talk about the positives. If you're feeling these good things about you, you feel happy, you feel excited, you feel exhilarated, you feel all these really good things, all these really good traits. That's good. That's a really good thing. And what I would say is if you're feeling those ways, I would say stay where you are. Keep on doing what you're doing. But what I would also want to mention though is make sure that you're still self-aware of what is going on around you, right? Because narcissists, they're going to come at you from different angles. And I can tell you right now, I've dealt with my ex-wife, which was back in 2023. And, since I've cut my family off and put them in the past, I have nothing to do with them. Since then, I've encountered a lot of narcissistic people, right? Narcissists are everywhere, right? I've encountered them in church. I've encountered them, at work, the work I do. I've encountered them, on the streets. I've encountered them. Narcissists are everywhere, man. And so what you need to do is continue to be self-aware. Continue to realize that there are people on this planet that don't care about you the same way that you care about them, right? I understand that as an empath, as a good-hearted person, you always want to be there for everybody. You always want to do good. I understand that because I'm just like you, right? But the thing is that there's a difference, right? You can still be good to people, but you can maintain your good from a distance, right? So, because when you do that, when you're being too good to people that don't deserve your goodness, what you are showing them is how they can treat you. And what that says to them is that they can get away with whatever they want to from you, right? It means that they can take shortcuts. If you're a boss at work, it means that your employees can take shortcuts. If you're always telling them good job, good job, good job, and you're not actually being constructive and doing constructive criticism to help them grow, then they're going to take shortcuts. They're going to show up to work late. They're not going to do their jobs, right? They're not going to, treat you like a boss. They're going to treat you like a friend that they can get things over on, right? So you have to have boundaries, right? If you're a good person and you're doing good, that's great. But you also have to have boundaries. You have to know when to say no, right? You can't always say yes to everything, right? This goes for people specifically if you're in church, right? If you're in church and you love ministry and you love doing all these good things, and I'm right with you on that because I'm in ministry myself. But there's a difference between loving what you do and then there's a difference between knowing when to say the word no. So when somebody asks you to do something, for example, in the church or in whatever religious organization you're a part of, you don't always have to say yes. I know you want to be good. I know that you feel as though if you say no, then God's gonna somehow punish you. Nah, man, it's not how it works that way. It doesn't work that way. That's what they brainwash people to think, but it's not actually true, right? Because the thing is that not everything and everyone is for you, right? Not everything there is for you. So therefore, you're not obligated to say yes to every single thing, because not everything is for you, right? And if they get upset, if they punish you, if they start acting up when you say no, then that tells you everything that you need to know about them, because that says everything about them and nothing about you, right? Because we're human beings, right? We're not perfect, right? Not everything is for everybody, right? So this is where you need to, be smart, right? Don't think that you owe it to every single person that you encounter, right? Just be yourself. Be self-aware, right? Think about you, what's important to you first. And once you understand what's important to you first, then people will start to value you, because they see that you place value on the things that are important to you, and they will know what they can get away with you. Right? They'll know what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. Right? And so that's why it's important to understand who you are as a person. Right? That's why it's important to understand that you are a person of value, that you mean a lot. Right? But you need to make sure that you understand that value first. Right? I want to talk about something else now. So we talked about the good and the bad and all those different types of things, right? But what we also need to remember when it comes to spiritual restoration is that this narcissism thing, it's a spiritual warfare, right? It's a spiritual warfare. It's not something it doesn't have much to do with your physical, your mental, your social, your finances. It doesn't have much to do with that, because you have to remember, guys, all those things are spiritual. Now, somebody's gonna ask me, watch my video, why are all those things spiritual? Well, they are all spiritual because God was the one who created all these things. Now, did God create money? No, he didn't. He created people that would have the ability to be able to create the money that we have, right? And so what you have to understand is that this is a spiritual warfare, right? So therefore, that means that you have to work on your spiritual side, right? Now, someone's going to ask me, Paul, how do I work on my spiritual side? Well, how you work on your spiritual side is you have to get in tune with your spiritual, meaning that you have to start reading the Bible. You have to start spending time in prayer. You have to start spending time, like I said before, doing the things that you enjoy so that you can tune into your inner self, right? Because the truth is that we all have an inner self, right? But we need to tune into that self, right? So that we can find those things about us that are good and work on those things. Right? So spiritual restoration and, getting yourself free, once you tune into your spiritual, you will find that you feel a little bit more free than you did before. Right? And so that's why it's so important. And I talk a lot about the spiritual, because that's what this narcissism thing is all about. That's why many people don't make it out. And I talk about this in a lot of my videos, and it's important, especially if this is your first video you're watching. If it is, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you being here. What I want to say is that's why many people, they struggle post narcissistic experience. If they were married to the narcissist, they struggle to move forward. If they're going through the cycle, they struggle because their spiritual isn't strong. Right? So that's what I need you guys to realize, right? You need to start spending time in the Word of God, right? Start spending time in the Holy Bible, right? Start even just open it, just read part of it, right? So that you can understand, God's purpose for you. Because when you start reading it, God will instantly start talking to you. You may not feel it right away, but he's going to be talking to you throughout your time reading it, so that God can reveal to you the things that need to be revealed. Because we are all spiritual beings. Right? All of us, we all have it in us. But the thing is that we need to tune into it. We all have it in us because we are all created by the same God, right? Narcissists, they were created just like we were. They're human beings. But the thing is that they have a disorder in their minds, right? And this disorder creates a high sense of self-importance within them that allows for them not to be able to empathize the way that me and you empathize. Right? And so that's why narcissists, that's why they can't be like us. That's why narcissists, you can't help them, because the more you try to help them, the more that they're going to be angry at you for helping them, because they believe that they don't need help. They believe that you need help for helping them. I know it sounds very twisted, but it's the truth. Because narcissists, remember, the high sense of self-importance, the lack of empathy, the fact that they can't relate with you and relate with your struggles. In fact, when you're telling them your struggles, they get upset for you telling them that, because they realize that they in of themselves, they are struggling, right? Narcissists are struggling, right? And it's because of that disorder in their mind where the empathy part of their brain is missing. Because that's the difference, and I mentioned it before, between narcissists and toxic people. Narcissists cannot empathize. They can't put themselves in your shoes at all. In fact, inside their mind, when you tell them their struggles, they're actually laughing to themselves. They're laughing because you're struggling, right? And they know that they can't help you, right? Now, toxic people, normal everyday toxic people that have a challenge or so, they can help you to a point, but it gets to a point where they can't help you, where they no longer care, right? Because they're toxic. They have problems, they have challenges, right? And they can get help if they decide to get help, but see, narcissists can't get help, right? Because the disorder in their mind doesn't allow for them to get help, right? If they go get delivered from their demons, the demons will be rid of. But the disorder is not going anywhere. The disorder in their mind is staying with them, right? Now, narcissists, they have to they make decisions too, right? And they can make a decision, but they won't, because they don't care. They don't feel like there's any need for them to make a decision to be good, because the disorder in their mind doesn't allow for them to be good. You guys see what I'm saying? So this is why it's so important, to make sure that your spiritual side is where it's supposed to be, right? That's why it's so important to realize that not everybody, not everybody, is who they is not everybody cares the way that you care. Right? So this is why it's so important, you guys, to understand that your spiritual restoration, being set free, being able to be set free, will only come when you decide to make the decision, okay, to work on your spiritual, to start reading the Word of God, to start getting in tune with your spiritual side, start going back to the beginning of your life and thinking back to where it all started, and how you and how you were treated, in your family, how you were treated in your life, in school, at work, and in the past. Think about those things, right? Because when think about them, but in the right way. When I say think about them, what I'm saying is reflect. Do self-reflection, right? Think back to, your life, so that you can pick up those pieces and take a look at them, right? And look back at your life and see, all the things that happened to you, right? Even since when you were a baby, when you were crawling around like a baby and your parents held you and things like that. How did your parents treat you when it came down to you and your siblings, if you had any? If you didn't, how did your parents treat you? How did those around you treat you, right? You have to start thinking about those things to get in tune more with your spiritual, because once you understand those things, then it's easier for you to connect the dots, because you can connect one dot to the next dot, to the next, to the next, to the next, and then everything will start to make sense, right? Because I can assure you that if you got involved with a narcissist, then I can assure you that you were involved with a narcissist in your life previously. If it wasn't a parent, it was a sibling, or it was an aunt, or it was a cousin, or it was an uncle, or it was a grandparent, or it was a teacher, or it was a friend, a best friend of so and so amount of years, right? Narcissists are everywhere. And they all come in different races and skin colors and different heights and different educational levels. They blend into society thinking that they are just like everybody else, when they're nothing like normal everyday people, right? They're the polar opposite. But the thing is that's why they're but the thing is that they're sneaky, right? They sneak around, they lurk in corners, they lurk on the streets, they lurk in the clubs, they lurk everywhere, right? They're everywhere. And that's why your spiritual will be able to detect, who the narcissist is and who the narcissist is not, right? Because then once your spiritual gets strong, then God will be able to reveal to you who belongs in your life and who doesn't. You start asking God, show me who my true friends and family are. And then God will start to reveal these people to you. And Trust me when I tell you, when he reveals some of these people to you, you're going to be shocked. You're going to be shocked to see that some of these people never had your best interests at heart. And in fact, they were sitting on the sidelines watching your life fall apart. They were sitting on the sidelines. They were mocking you. They were spreading the smear campaign about you behind your back. I know for a fact that in my life, when I was younger, I know for a fact that, my dad, who's a narcissist, whom we all know is a narcissist now, he was going around smear campaigning, me and my brothers, not just me, but me and my brothers behind our backs. He was smearing us to his family. And that's why when we went to get-togethers and things like that, we were all treated differently. We were made to feel like we didn't fit in with the family. And that is because the smear campaign was going on behind our backs, and we didn't even know what a smear campaign was. Right? That's why we were treated differently. That's why one of the things I heard from my cousins was, "Oh, well, you're not a good cousin. You're the worst cousin you're the worst cousin," or something like that, right? And so that's why I was treated like that, because I was targeted, because I knew that they knew, and my dad knew that I was going to be a good son, a good person, and I wasn't going to, he knew that I walked in the truth, that I always did what was right. Even when nobody was looking, I always did what was right. And so that's another one of the reasons why I was targeted, right? But I embrace it, right? Because I realized that it's not my fault. I realized that it had nothing to do with me. And I had to do with the fact that I was surrounded by people who wanted to be like me and who wanted to be me. They were projecting all their insecurities onto me so that I could be like them. But I said, no, I'm not going to be like you. I'm going to continue to be myself. And that's what narcissists do. They project and they tell you everything that you are not, that they in fact are, so that you can be like them, so that it can create a cognitive dissonance in your mind, and that you can then be gaslighted to think that you are actually the problem. So when they say that you are a cheater, when they say that you are a liar, when they say that you are not a good person, when they say that you will never amount to anything, when they say that you will never be a success in life. That's one thing one of my brothers said to me, is I'll never be a success in life. And look where I am now, right? And I don't know where he is, and I don't care where he is, but look where I am now, right? Even though he said I'll never be a success in life, right? So what I'm saying is that narcissists, they do this because they're jealous and envious of you. So pay attention. When somebody is saying things like that to you, when they're being just flat out disrespectful to you, and let's say that let's say it came from a disagreement. Let's say that you disagree with them and said, I disagree with you, or I have a different opinion than you. And let's say that you explain your opinion, and then they get riled up and they start yelling and screaming at you and calling you this and calling you that, saying that you're not a good friend, saying that you're not a good brother, saying that you're not a good husband, you're not a good wife. They start saying you're not a good student, you're not a good this or that. They start blaming you, they start mocking you, they start laughing at you, they start giving you the cut eye, the smirk, like that. They start giving you the devilish smirk. They start doing all those things to you. That's because they have a demonic presence. But not just that, it's because they are trying to show you how jealous they are of you. Because a normal, healthy, stable person, if you were to say I disagree with you, then you guys will be able to have a conversation about it and come to some sort of agreement where you guys agree to disagree. That's what healthy, stable people do. Right? They let things go. Narcissists, they don't let things go. They don't know how to say, you know what? It's all right. You disagree with me? Who cares? We're two different people. Narcissists don't see things like that. Narcissists see it that they're all the way up here and that everybody's all the way down there and that everybody should worship them. But it's really the opposite. You are all the way up here and the narcissist is all the way down there. Right? But again, guys, the high sense of self-importance makes it for them to think that way. Right? So that's why it's so important to get with your spiritual side, because when you get with your spiritual side, the narcissist will stay away from you more and more and more, and they will want to deal with you less and less and less, because narcissists know who they can target and who they will not target. Right? That's why my ex-wife, she didn't really want to deal with my family, because she knew something that I didn't. That was that my family was narcissistic. And that's why she barely ever wanted to come around. Or that's why she was, anytime we went out to go see family, she would always be asking me, how many people are going to be there? Who's going to be there? Do I know them? Do I not know them? She was always so concerned. I always said, babe, I'm bringing you out with my family. If I didn't think they were good for you, why would I bring you out with them? And then she said, because I don't want you to know, I don't want them to know who I am. So she knew from the get-go that my family was narcissistic. But the thing is, I didn't know, right? So that's what I'm saying, guys. Get in touch with your spiritual side more, so that you can get set free from all the abuse, from all the gaslighting, all the manipulation, all the smear campaign, all the financial abuse, the physical abuse, the spiritual abuse, perhaps, and all those abuses. You can move forward from those things, but you have to be healed. Right? That's why you need to tune into your spiritual, because when you do that, then you can be healed. All right? So thank you so much, guys, for joining me here today on Narcissism 101, Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Like I said previously, if you would like a 101 session, please email me, paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out what you're doing, whether you're doing with the narcissist or not, please feel free to reach out. Let me know that you've been watching some of my videos and that you would like some help. And I'd love to book a 101 session with you. Please like, subscribe, put a comment down below if you can relate to what I'm talking about. Share it with somebody who you think could use the help. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here today. And I hope to see you on the next video. Thank you so much.